tax resolution companies that maybe aren't on the up and up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to say it. We're just going to say it. And,
Okay.
there's a rule out there of marketing that says you never punch down.
Okay.
Okay. But in all this refusal for people to punch down, there's things I know about the tax resolution industry that, maybe there's somebody out there who could be really helped if I just say the name.
Yes.
So let's talk about with one of the biggest out there right now.
Yes.
They're currently one of the biggest, Optima Tax Relief. They're out there. And that's an interesting outfit. They hired a Canadian, Alan Thicke, as their spokesperson.
Because growing pains is very relevant.
Very relevant. And why would you take advice from a Canadian ever? No, seriously.
Especially about your taxes.
Yeah, I know. Alan Thicke is Canadian, people. What's the problem here? Canadians are valuable people.
Yes.
Alan Thicke also wrote the theme song to Facts of Life.
Oh,
yeah.
Great show.
It's a great show. It did get,
good song.
It was when they had Molly Ringwald on it was when it was good. When they got rid of her, too much
Downhill.
Joe. Little too much Joe, okay? Dial that back. Theme song was fantastic. Now, Optima Tax Relief is an interesting one. And Chen, could you get up their I think the first thing to show them, and we're just going to go with their own website, So I'll let people draw their own conclusions on this. So they have a website up here. We're looking at this right now, and they have a job posting, okay? And so if you could find the one where, okay, so here it is they're looking for tax associates, okay? So they're looking for tax associates will be required to contact clients and field new calls from people and businesses in trouble with the IRS. The tax associate is tasked with 3 primary objectives. 1, identify the root of the prospect's tax problem by asking questions and listening to the prospect's responses. 2, placing a client in one of our various services. 3, assisting and collecting a submission package to our tax resolution staff. We work to build relationships with our clients and the IRS alike so we can offer representations to taxpayers with a variety of tax complaints. Our potential clients are in need of a number of services included to, but not limited to, the following: help with IRS tax audits, filing past due returns, removing an IRS levy or federal tax lien, setting up a tax payment plan, removing wage garnishments, filing an offer in compromise. Okay, now here's the job requirements, okay? At least 2 years of recent experience in a sales is required. Absolutely no exceptions.
Wow.
You may be required to document your experience and pay history if requested and to provide credible work-related references.
That's the requirement. Is
there
there
you
any
go.
More?
Yeah, so I'm like, well, the tax. Like,
what about the tax knowledge?
Yeah,
the tax?
helping people file an offer in compromise, working in tax. So these are the people. So this is where I say the free consultation is with a salesperson.
Yep.
That's why they're hired. And they're like, no exceptions, man.
Yeah.
No. Don't try to fool us with your fake references, too.
You can be pretty. You can be really, really, really smart. You can be savvy, but no sales experience.
You're out of here.
You're out.
Yeah, you're out. And I remember years ago, and one that went out of business years ago, J.K. Harris. And I do have the website. I did buy the domain of that. I had mentioned the other day. I did interview a gentleman who was working for J.K. Harris and was looking for new employment. And it wasn't maybe the most honest of interviews on my part, because there's no way I was going to hire this guy. I just wanted to find out some information. And so he came in and he told me sort of like, this is what I do. I do the sales for J.K. Harris. The compensation used to be a lot better, but he's cutting it back. He was getting rid of his best sales guys. And, it's like, I don't know. I'm driving, I'm going down, I'm driving up from, he was covering the Northeast. So all of the Northeast J.K. Harris offices, which were the rent offices, he was going to the Bronx. He was going to Westchester, up to Boston, all around, every day traveling so much. It sounded miserable, and he's going to these rental offices. And, so the guy, I was like, tell me about your experience. Oh, I was one of the best sales guys there. Like, all right, well, tell me about, your tax, deal with the IRS. Oh, I could tell somebody right away what they qualified for right at the beginning. I'm like, all right, so you have done tax resolution work. You've called the IRS. Oh, no. But I could tell right away. I'm like, but you've never done any of this work. No, but I'm great at sales.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was somebody, and he was saying things that were definitely words that would exist in tax resolution. But he was stringing them together in a way that couldn't make sense. It didn't make sense if you knew what you were talking about. It would make sense if you were far away. Yeah, sure, close enough. But it was off. I was like, you don't know a damn thing of what you're doing. You're going to lie to people to get them to sign, whether you know it or not, because you don't know what you're talking about. You're just going to get that sale. You're going to promise something to somebody. You're going to shoot your mouth off that no way that the person who you're handing this case off to, right, who the person who does deal with the IRS, they can't do anything with it. They can't do it. It's like, this case, like you're going to get the refund back for the person's in CNC. You can't.
Right.
That's called the program.
And we've already had multiple conversations about anybody that promises you a resolution off the bat. Hey, here's exactly what you qualify for.
Yep.
Here's the resolution I'm going to get. Here's how much money you'll get back.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
The IRS doesn't work like that.
Yep.
You can't guarantee anything.
Yeah. And here's another company I dealt with a few years ago. These people called. They cold call people with federal tax liens.
Oh.
Clear Creek Tax Resolution out of Colorado.
Yep.
These people, because a client forwarded the call to me because he's like, he thought it was the IRS calling. And so he's like, call Anthony, and gave the number. They called here.
Yeah.
Answering IRS medic, parent. And they transferred the call to me. I'm like, and I thought it was the IRS. They're like, okay, yeah, the taxpayer. I'm like, wait. Then they said something. I'm like, wait, wait a second. Where are you calling from? Clear Creek Tax Resolution. Huh?
This is IRS medic.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to be. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So what can you help my client with? Oh, well, your client owes $200,000 in payroll taxes. I'm like, yeah, I know. Oh, jeez. Yeah. I don't know any of this tax stuff.
Thanks for the hot lead.
Can you help me out? Yeah, well, you could cut that bill in half. Oh my God, that'd be great. How are we going to cut that in half? Well, the tax lien is filed. You're allowed to penalty abatement. I'm like, oh my God, the penalty abatement? Well, just a question. That sounds great. He owes $200,000, but only $10,000 of it is penalty. So how do you abate a penalty that's not there? Can you hold on, please? You can abate your penalty because of state law. They always go to state law, right?
What state?
State law. I'm like, this is a federal tax lien, right? We're talking about a federal tax lien. Yeah. And so what you're saying is the federal government purposely files liens for double the amount that you really can get them for because of state law. And they kept going, and I said, okay, here's the deal. I'm actually somebody who does this for a living, and you're really dangerous, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You should stop what you're doing, take a look in the mirror, and stop being a dirtbag.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't.
I did.
What'd they say?
They just like,
Thank you for your time, Mr. Parent.
But now get this, right? They followed up with the client every friggin' day. They sent an email. Here's your representation agreement. Sign up today. Sign up today, Clear Creek Tax Resolution Company.
Wow.
And they also made a claim that, well, we have the inside scoop on the IRS because IRS Appeals is right here in Denver, Colorado.
Since you're close, you have some magic mind melding.
I'm like, well, I'm sure there's IRS Appeals all over the country. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. They're all over the country. And are you implying that you have some inappropriate relationship with a government official that's going to give you a better deal? Is that what you're doing? Is that why I should hire you? It was, they're really something else.
You know what I've seen too? It seems to me that the trend for the complaints with a lot of the tax resolution places is the same. You call, you get sales pitch. They say it's going to be $3,500, $4,500.
Right.
Sign on the dotted line. You sign on the dotted line, and after, at first, it seems like they're doing a lot of work, and then the work doesn't seem to happen as much, but they start to blame it on the taxpayer. Well, we need more from you. You're not doing enough. And then they sort of almost disappear into the night with the client's money.
Yep.
And I had an epiphany the other day. Let's say it is $3,500, $4,500. Is that person going to take the time and money to sue to get their money back? Because it's going to cost too much money to sue.
Right.
And that just seems like the scummiest thing.
In all these companies, they're always out of state. They're, usually they're out of state. that they're targeting you because you're not in state. Because if you're in state, it's so much easier to file a small claims against them, and those will pile up and they'll slow them down. But at that, I mean, they pick this number. It's going to be $2,500, $3,500, or $4,500. They pick that number because it's what you're willing to pay, and it's also high enough that gives them the profit they're looking for, but it's low enough that you're not going to get all attorney generally on them. But it did happen with tax masters. The attorney general shut them down. And it happened with, it does happen when they get big enough, the whole sort of thing collapses, because this is really what it is. And I talked to an enrolled agent who worked at one of the big firms, and it wasn't, I can't recall which one it was, but it was a place in California. And he was thinking, like, I'm really thinking about going on my own because I can't do this anymore. It's really stressful. I have 1,000 cases.
Wow.
He had 1,000 clients assigned to him. And he was a smart guy. And there's no question the guy, he was, talented guy. You cannot handle 1,000 cases. I think we have, one of our tax resolution specialists has like 40, 30, 20.
Right.
That's
and
the amount to handle.
20 that could technically end up being resolved instead of 1,000 that there's no answer. You can dig and dig and dig.
You can dig, and now, I mean, each phone call to the IRS is taking, phone call is taking 4 hours time. Oh, and this is the other Optima Tax Relief, as you recall.
Yes.
So let's just say this: if you're working for Optima Tax Relief and you're a little bit pressured, like, oh my God, I don't know how many. I don't have an inside scoop about how many are assigned to them. I don't know. Not claiming I do. Let's just say it's more than you can feel that you can handle. One way, and you need to get a levy release. A levy release takes a lot of time. It's calls to the IRS, another call, maybe to a supervisor, submitting documents, getting it. It's really stressful. I've done enough levy releases, and I do levy releases. It's hard. It's not fun. It's stressful. So you could do that, or you could take a little bit of a shortcut.
Okay.
Yeah, just create one.
How would you do that?
Well, you scan in one that you get. You have a real levy release from something.
Okay.
So just get a little whiteout. Maybe you do it on Photoshop and print it out. And you can make one that looks just like the real thing and send it out to the bank or the wherever it is. You can do that. Because guess what? That is what was done, at least according to a plea by an Optima Tax Relief employee. And I can't believe I did a blog on this in the summer.
Yeah.
And it just like went away. No one cared. I'm like, this is huge news. Huge.
They're using the same tactics I used in 1990 to make a fake ID.
Yeah.
Buy booze, tax lien. Seems about equal.
It's so I mean that's and what I don't get is how were they caught? That is what's interesting, because the thing is like that's a pretty good scam, because if you're sending the release to the bank, sometimes I would, the bank didn't get the release. Okay, what's your fax number? Here's a release. I'll fax it to you. Okay, then they release the funds. So I'm trying to figure out, how was this person caught with the phony tax lien, phony tax release levy?
Right.
How many did they really do?
Right.
Because it said 6, but I think the plea agreement said 6, but I'm thinking there must have been.
If you get away with 6, you're likely to.
I'm thinking there was probably a lot more. You probably had the whole PDF up on your screen. Hey, well, this guy's really effective. All right, give him more work.
Give Bob a bonus.
Yeah, that is, that these are really lead machines, and this is one of the things where when Erica started working here, she came in and she was working intake, and she says, "You're giving away free consultations?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "That's a mistake. You should be charging. You're giving away good information." I go, "No, honey, you just don't understand the business."
Wives know a lot.
Yeah. Then I was like, something? I think we should really start charging for consultations. And then I actually forgot she said that. I did. She's like, "Oh, great. You're finally going to listen to me." Yeah.
Yes, honey, you're right.
Yeah.
IRS Medic, the law offices of Parent LLP, real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.